Welcome to the Zen Castle. Today we're discussing the mental power that can be achieved through correctly practicing Zen Buddhism. The first point I'd like to make is that the original Buddha was extremely non-religious. So if I were to compare his original teaching to any branch of Buddhism today, it would be Zen Buddhism. This is mainly because Zen Buddhism, which is the Mahayana branch, is the most non-religious type of Buddhism. It does not abide by any sacred text, believes in no formal God, and is the most non-materialistic of all branches or sects. This is in perfect alignment with what the first Buddha taught approximately 2,500 years ago, whose formal name was Siddartha Gautama. Incidentally, the title Buddha does not mean deity, but is translated as enlightened one or awakened one. Today there are literally over a dozen types of Buddhist sects and branches. Yes, contrary to popular belief, just as in all the many denominations of Christianity, Buddhism has their own various branches, types, and teachings. If I could narrow it down for simplicity's sake, there are three main branches. Those can be divided into Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana. Theravada is primarily found in Southeast Asia, Mahayana in Japan, Vietnam, and Korea, and Vajrayana in China and Tibet, which incidentally is what the Dalai Lama teaches. What I teach is the Mahayana, or a Japanese type of Buddhism, namely Zen Buddhism. And in my opinion, it provides the believer with the greatest level of peace, mental clarity, and potential to reach Nirvana, which incidentally was taught by the original Buddha as total happiness, contentment, and tranquility on earth, not an afterlife experience of eternal bliss. The Buddha was dispassionate about religiosity, career, money, and goals, which is completely opposite to the passion of the American goal-driven society. Other than basic life necessities, Buddha Siddartha allowed no room for your ambitions and desires. He said, do not hide behind any beliefs, doctrines, or theories. Light the inner candle to see the true nature of things clearly. And when you have the courage to accept the truth, then you will become truly content and blessed. So, what is the Buddha's initial teaching? That all systems of belief are harmful. All faiths are barriers to the present reality of suffering, and all praying and hoping for a desire to be filled will further add to your suffering. The Buddha was not an atheist, however. He was neither a theist nor atheist, because he said this: some believe in God, others do not, but both types of people have strong beliefs. The interesting point here is that although he didn't believe in God, at the same time he rejected the viewpoints of those who were atheists. He said their denial of God was like a mosquito biting an elephant's foot to try and wound it. He also said that those who were immature will go out and find another idol to replace God. Many times we see videos of Buddhists bowing down to a statue of Siddhartha Buddha, praying or chanting to him and acting as most religious folks do, in awe of a mighty or eternal being. If you're a Buddhist, you must understand your modern day practice of worshiping and bowing to the Buddha goes directly against his original teaching. He never claimed to be deity, and he never wanted to be bowed to or worshipped in any way. These are all practices that started in the mid-1700s. So, if you have a statue of Buddha in your home, it's fine. But when you start praying to that statue and asking for your desires or wishes, then if the Buddha were alive today, he would stop you and say that he is just a man and not to be worshipped or prayed to. This does not mean to discard any statues of the Buddha, but rather enjoy and observe them. Make them a reminder to meditate. Maybe this is shocking to most viewers, but again, there is no religion associated with being a true Buddhist. In all actuality, this is an extremely unique phenomena in the history of human consciousness and spirituality. And although you might say it is a faith-based system, it has no relationship to a formal religious system. The original Buddha wisely said that seeking any form of God is merely a search for comfort, safety, and hiding within a walled refuge. He said, you believe in God not because there is a God, but because you feel weak and vulnerable without that belief. He also said if there were no God, you would invent one, which stems from your own weakness and fear. Your form of church or God allows you to transmit and project your weaknesses to a divine being. You might call it a father figure for help, which rarely comes. If it finally does arrive, it's mostly due to your own efforts. That's right. For example, you want a spouse or a job and think your prayers will provide you the remedy for your situation. But the answer actually comes through your diligent efforts and hard work toward obtaining that given prize, and not necessarily through divine intervention. Translated into modern English, the Buddha called this a desire projection. It can be a wish or a desire deep in your heart, then projected outward to the cosmos or any type of god or goddess. A key takeaway here is that without a formal God, it is difficult for ordinary people to find meaning in life. They have a deep feeling that life would become chaotic in the absence of God. Many times they do not realize they have this hidden feeling deep down inside. Nonetheless, it moves them in the direction of a church or following after a God. Therefore, projection occurs, which means sending your issues and sadness or desires toward a heavenly being for help. You're projecting that, let's say, on a heavenly screen for help. I'd like to suggest this is all an illusion. Because the Buddha taught, because of this projection, whether to God or possessing deep internal desires that are sent or projected to the universe, they are all a main cause of suffering and pain. The first Buddha, Siddartha Gautama, who was from Nepal, not China, said that all of human suffering is caused by hoping, wanting, and desiring, or because of a tragedy. The point is, you must achieve mental clarity and wipe away all the desires that are causing you to project those dreams to the cosmos or to any god, which of course places those projections or prayers on a timetable, further giving you stress and suffering. The Zen Buddhists teach one key point of meditation is to simply delete all your thoughts of the future and past and just be aware of the present. We might call that mindfulness. In essence, you must stop your mind from hyperanalyzing of everything you wish for or desire, even the mistakes of the past. Here is what most people do in their quiet time, whether that's sitting on a sofa thinking about life, kneeling in prayer, or in American style form of meditation. A thought comes along, and that thought is not allowed to easily pass by. Instead, the mind stops it. For example, a thought about if someone should become your friend. Then the mind stops that thought and overanalyzes it, rips it apart, and then tries to reconstruct it so that a possible decision can be made, thereby causing anxiety during a time that is supposed to be tranquil. If no decision is achieved, that thought might be projected to the universe or to God in the form of prayer, which again makes the mind wander, jump around, and yearn for an answer. Many Asians call this mind jumping and wandering routine the monkey mind, which is obviously a total contradiction to the purpose of meditation and mindfulness. You must therefore stop this constant jumping from one thought, one desire, one project to another, and as they arrive in your head, whether that be in meditation or just in your waking time, walking around time, let's say, as they arrive in your head, you must train yourself diligently to delete them or allow them to pass by. Because no matter what you do, friends, it's the universe that will unfold the eventual outcome and not your prayers, wishes, or desires. Because when the mind stops, there is no projection, which leads to a state of happiness and tranquility, a state of peace or Zen. You become the empty screen of consciousness instead of the projection to the universal screen of a God out there. The Buddha teaches us to be empty of mental projections. To reiterate, in our lives we are constantly flooded with concepts and ideas about ourselves and others. For example, we're taught to acquire more possessions, climb higher on the ladder of success, and become someone memorable and great. Many of us spend our lives trying to figure out who we are, what our purpose is, or how we can make a meaningful impact in the world. All of which the Buddha would call different recipes for stress and suffering. An ancient Indian Sanskrit word for this is dukkha. We therefore create an identity. As Swiss psychoanalyst Dr. Carl Jung put it, we create a persona that we project to the world or the universe, thereby forming an ego. We then operate from this position of ego, always trying to achieve who we should be or maintain it. Again, the Buddha, Siddartha Gautama, would consider this foolishness and a recipe for pain and suffering. So please allow me to repeat that again, okay? We create this persona, this ego, we project it to the world and the universe around us, okay? We operate from this position of ego. We conduct our life that way, always trying to either achieve who we should be or maintain who we should be. The Buddha would consider this foolishness and a recipe for suffering. Although not easy, it is not impossible to begin learning how to empty your mind of these foolish desires for wealth, notoriety, or any other wish and dream. Let the universe develop what will be without you grunting toward a goal and suffering through the process. Emptying your mind means letting go of all the concepts and beliefs that you have about yourself, others, and your life situation. We must stop saying, oh, I'm the guy that has a good sense of humor, so I'm going to go make people laugh now. Or I'm the lady that is the sexiest, so I'm going to show everyone, whoever that may be, how sexy I am. Or I'm the best computer engineer in my company, so I'm going to prove it to everyone through this new project that I'm working on. Letting go may cause some mental conflict within your psyche. For example, feeling completely devoid of wants and dreams might initially seem negative, but it will open the door to profound transformation. I know it has for myself and countless others. We live in a world inundated with societal expectations and relentless pursuits, which are the desires that the Buddha spoke so negatively about and the cause of all the suffering. But instead of living in a heavenly nirvana on earth, which is the only true form of heaven we'll ever see in this life, instead we construct our personal identity and do all in our power to improve ourselves, to make some sort of impact, even if that impact is to be the best billiards player at your local bar. Unfortunately, all this striving to achieve our purpose and impact in the world creates a small tornado of chaos in our minds, because we often lose sight of what truly matters. You may be asking, okay, what is it that truly matters if it is not wealth, striving toward goals, or dreaming about a better future? Well, the answer is right in front of you if you quiet your mind and live in the presence of the natural world around you without hyperanalyzing everything. And that simply is that we must understand contentment comes from the love of interconnectedness with all things. This means anything organic, from your coworker to your dog to the trees and green grasses in the field. You see, true Zen Buddhist teachers are advising you that your mental energy is entangled with everyone and everything around you that is living, and that nothing exists independently from this law of entanglement or interconnectivity. This is why we teach to be angry at a neighbor is to be angry at oneself, and also to love your neighbor as yourself. This extends out to the natural world with regards to kindness toward wildlife, domestic pets, and even against killing innocent animals. It even extends outward to loving and not destroying the flora or plant life. So when we are fully present in the moment and practice mindfulness, this empties our monkey mind and allows us to shed the concepts and beliefs that bind us, thereby enabling us to be fully present in this very moment without any agendas or goal achievement. When you can achieve this state of mind, you'll start to tap into your true power and realize contentment within your life and current situation, no matter what it currently is. This mental clarity and mindfulness will therefore unlock limited possibilities in the here and now. It's not easy and it may take years, but eventually, when you can intentionally clear your mind, delete all the analyzing and attempts to control your situation, even progressing to removing all desires and wants, then finally you will experience a sense of lightness, bliss, and mental tranquility, just like the original Buddha did when he achieved enlightenment. This luminous state of clarity, emptiness, and mindfulness isn't something we actually and actively do. So my advice is not to stress over this condition either. It will come natural with practice. It is also not something you grunt to achieve during meditation. So clear that from your head as well. Rather, the Buddha taught this is a way of being. It's a mindset from morning until night. Not just while you're sitting in a meditative state, it is a method of thinking, acting, which becomes permanent. Where your identity fails, where thoughts and analysis decrease, and even where negative memories dissipate in the network of universal consciousness. So let me repeat that again. This is a method of thinking, a way of life which will eventually become permanent, where your identity fades, that persona, that ego, it fades away, thoughts and analysis decrease, and even where your negative memories, past tragedies, for example, dissipate into the network of universal consciousness. We can therefore empty our concerns into the cosmos and release the energy that was previously wasted on following goal and wish projections. In this condition, your current imperfections or past failures are both accepted and dissolved. There is no need for reconciliation or making things right. No need for repentance, because the Buddha teaches us that all is right, all is accepted, and all will pass through your consciousness without your need to want, desire, or fix and improve it. Keep in mind that your persona, whether you created it or the environment around you helped to create it, your ego, let's say, is far from who you truly are. It is merely a mental concept of your doing and the environment that has subconsciously put that in you. okay? The environment you live in, we can say. In order to undo what you've been taught from childhood, it's essential to avoid placing attention on these areas of analysis, desire, want, or past tragedies. Forget about them. This will become a superpower to you if you are mentally strong enough to pull it off in time. As an example, I'd like to instruct you not to worry about anything and to refrain from giving your attention to anything at this moment, just for a few moments. Be mindful and let go of everything. As if space is opened up and everything is pushed away from your vicinity, both physically and mentally. Can you do this without the monkey mind hopping around from thought to thought, goal to goal, desire to desire? If so, you will begin to notice that any thoughts of the past or future, even your personal identity, can be left behind, can be temporarily deleted. Eventually, it's a permanent deletion. It is at that point where you feel a profound inner emptiness that drives out all of these motivations and negative memories. Your mind and past programming will be uncomfortable doing this, but it is important to use what's left of your willpower, because the tendency will be to regress and attempt to fill this beautiful void that you've worked so hard to achieve. This means we attempt to fill it with various wants and dreams, maybe even with future projects to accomplish. But the ongoing problem that the Buddha teaches us is that we are setting ourselves up for stress and suffering, or dukkha, because within this stressful goal setting and desire wishing, we will soon become disappointed and move from one temporary solution to another, most of the time experiencing failure after failure and more suffering combined with conflict. In all honesty and actuality, this is the fate of almost every living being on the planet, because they are unconsciously ignorant of a spiritual awakening and therefore unknowingly able to accept this cycle of desire and disappointment, unknowingly able even to reject this cycle of desire and disappointment. Okay? Reject those hopes and wishes that need to be reanalyzed, restructured, and changed to lower standards, none of which will ever satisfy. The Buddha taught all desires of mankind are insatiable. Why does 98% of the world's population, even Buddhists, Christians, and Hindu believers, why do they resign to believing this is mandatory and an inherent part of life? The answer is because they have never been truly taught the way of Zen Buddhism. In essence, the vast majority, the vast populace does not know any better, and it has been programmed into their craniums since childhood. That is, to make goals, for example, pass a school exam, then make another goal or have another want, such as working for years to buy a dream car. The Buddha wants us to realize this is an illusion and mass foolishness that so-called friends, schools, and families, let's even say society, has forced on us and made us believe that all of this is a necessary part of life. The problem is that very few people understand they have been setting us up since childhood for disappointment, pain, and suffering. My suggestion is a mental reboot, okay? A recoding and to leave all of this behind. Begin learning the way of the Zen and stop putting all your precious energy into goals, plans, and desires. Your single most important desire should be to achieve mental clarity and realize a true emptiness from striving for something or falling back into negative memories. One way that we teach is through focusing on your breathing instead of some future wish. For example, as you breathe in, you place your mind totally on the breath and nothing else. Say to yourself, I am mindfully breathing in, or I am aware that I am now breathing in, and now I am mindfully aware that I am breathing out. Like so. And this may seem a little ridiculous at first, but it's a centuries-old technique of washing away all thoughts and analysis of the monkey mind, okay? Calculated observation of your breathing. This all relates to being aware of the activities of your body and mind. In this case, your awareness of mindfully breathing and how your innermost being is connected to quantum energy and the collective consciousness of entangled energy. There are a few ways of achieving this connection to the universe, okay? To clarify, and let me say, to mindful breathing, you can add a low resonance primordial Om. To the primordial Om, you can add a slow walk in nature as you mindfully focus on the color green or the wildlife sounds. Only through silent consciousness and ongoing mindfulness can our incorrect thinking and mental nature change. It's all about silence. No illuminated screens, no music playing in the background constantly, no chatter, no phone calls or texts, no desktop project planning. Silence. Because in this silence, the change slowly starts to take place. But this is not a one and done practice, mind you. It's a state of being and a Zen way of life. Some folks interchangeably use the word Zen with peace, okay? But I'm going to say it is a Zen way of life. You don't do this to become temporarily peaceful. Then run back to checking your messages, setting another goal, or desiring another sexual encounter. Who can do this? There are only a choice few individuals that can achieve this way of life. And it's rarely, if ever, someone that is wealthy with many possessions. Why? Because all those possessions need to be maintained. And all that money or those possessions and the associated worries are the problem there, okay? It drains your mental focus and it adds to yearning and desiring to keep up with those possessions or that great wealth. When you are opposite of the rest of the money-grabbing world, when you can truly discard desire, then you are left in a state of being that the Buddha taught, where almost nothing is known and nothing really truly needs to be understood. The point is, to find nirvana on earth, the mind must achieve a state of silence. I can't emphasize silence enough. That means no one's around. You are in your quiet time. And it doesn't necessarily mean meditation. You can be standing, making a meal in silence. Void of all desire, void of all wishes, wants, and goals. Silence, okay? Completely free of the desires, goal setting, or images of future dreams. This state of mind can only be attained through observing every feeling and thought without analysis, judgment, or comparison, and let it pass. Don't analyze it, don't stop it, don't reconfigure it. Let it pass, or just try to delete it completely. This is not obtained by suppressing thoughts, okay, but through being disinterested in them. For example, you want to sell your house or you desire to get a new job. Instead of trying to wipe those desires out of your mind, okay, which is sort of like wanting to accomplish this deletion of thoughts, okay, instead of trying to wipe those desires from your mind, you realize they exist. Then you create a profound disinterest in them. And you tell yourself, I do not care if I sell this or obtain that. I just don't care because I want to be peaceful and calm. When disinterested attention is applied, you, as the observer of those thoughts, right, you're taking a back seat to them, almost as if you're watching a movie. Eventually, as the observer, through that disinterest, those wants, desires, thoughts, goals will mentally fade. They'll fade away, okay? Leaving you only with calm observation and tranquility. What I'm saying is to avoid paying close attention to anything from the past or any future thought. Because within this silent attention, okay, this disinterested silent attention, the mind becomes completely empty, thereby allowing life situations or past regrets to dissolve into the cosmos, leaving you with the end result of happiness and bliss. And that is truly what everyone is seeking. Remember, however, this is not a mindful state of being achieved only through a 30-minute session of meditation. Again, this is a way of life. It's a morning until evening condition, from when you open your eyes in the morning until they close at night, even when you are working, walking, running, or sitting. You see, that is the point that most Buddhists or other spiritual folks that meditate will forget about. The 24/7 aspect to this way of life. What happens in most cases is a lifelong trial and error, attempt and failure to achieve tranquility, because the practice of mindfulness is sectioned off only to a fraction of the day. Remember what I said earlier about a thought arriving in your mind, and then there's an analysis, a deconstruction, supposed improvement, and then a reconstruction. You therefore follow a thought from beginning to end until you see the end result, okay? You're following this thought. You're not allowing it to pass by. You want to see it through to the end. Zen Buddhism is teaching, don't do that. Don't follow the thoughts until the end, okay? Here is an interesting problem with that useless practice, okay? Let me share with you the interesting problem. Following a thought is what sustains the ego. It's what keeps you in the endless loop of desire and suffering of wanting and dreaming, then being disappointed later. What is much better? And the way of the Buddha is to perceive the thought, remain present by realizing it exists, then becoming totally disinterested in it or its outcome. The results are that stress and agitation will diminish and harmony is left because there is lack of energy fueling that thought, fueling that stress. When you understand this visionary way of thought application and make this a mindful part of your life experiences, no matter where you are, whether at work, driving, talking to friends, that locale will become a tranquil retreat for your mind because you've trained it to remove judgment, wit, sarcasm, analysis, and of course wants or desires. You are left with a consciousness that is filled with understanding and void of any agenda. When you're mentally strong enough to pull this off, it will be naturally liberating. You can't imagine how mentally free you will become. It all starts with meditation, but continues with remembering the foundation of your meditative sessions and putting those into practice during daily life. The point here is consistency, keeping your conduct steadfast no matter what you are doing, and never separating. This is very important, so listen carefully. Never separating your spiritual life from your daily life in this world of disarray. Found in this wisdom, you'll discover a peaceful consciousness which will be permanent instead of the temporal minds of everyone around you that practice goal setting and desire wishing. That means when you attain stability in this immutable state of mind, there will be no need for caring about more than necessities, much the same way that the first Buddha lived. Remember, though, that he taught the glorious middle way, which is neither strict asceticism nor total liberality in thought and action. You may be thinking that if all you focus on is basic needs and never having any goals or desires, the end result will be poverty and homelessness. Please allow me to clarify, this is not the middle way either. The Buddha did not teach total deprivation to the point of living on the streets begging for food. That means it's okay to have a job. It's okay to drive a car. It's okay to have sexual intimacy with your partner. And it's okay to want an after-dinner ice cream dessert. The problem arises when you put your mental focus and deep desire into any of the above. For example, you have a job, but you want to climb the corporate ladder. You have a car, but you want a newer and faster car. Or you have a spouse, but you want a younger and sexier one. All of which the Buddha would renounce and call foolish desires that cause pain and suffering. Take a moment to reflect on the mental overload you have upon waking up. Your mind is already racing, thinking about tasks to do, problems to resolve, or recollections of the previous day. Sadly, it's usually an exhausting list that often involves memories, unfulfilled wants, and judgments about ourselves or others and our life. Somewhat of a mental storm that causes a mild to moderate amount of stress and anxiety from the moment you wake up. Now, take a moment to reflect how all of this can be changed by removing the focus about tasks and wants upon awakening to focusing on mindfulness. For example, spend the first few moments each morning being mindful of the bedroom, okay? How comfortable your bed was, the room's temperature, the colors in the room, or even the gratitude you have waking up in safety. This is part of emptying your mind and deleting the wants and goals that keep so many people in bondage. Incidentally, do not think of this mental emptiness and being a so-called airhead, okay? Let me repeat that. You're not a so-called airhead if you're emptying your mind. We're not talking about stupidity at all, but rather refilling the mind with peace and serenity, with gratitude and freedom. Another key point is to stop trying to be someone important, someone that has many things to accomplish in life, or someone that prides themselves on being intelligent or responsible. These are all layers of pretense that is contrary to Zen Buddhist teachings, okay? True Buddhism is saying that you will discover true magic, real magic in this life when you make a concerted effort to remove these layers of posing, striving, or pretending to be something or someone. The point is simply be present, simply live and experience what the universe will unfold for you today without anticipation or over analyzing. The emotional benefits of this practice are remarkable. We leave behind the burden of expectations, desires, and the incessant self-criticism. We simply exist as who we truly are. We are a beautiful being within the collective consciousness of the universe. Once you can master this, it will be a weight off of your shoulders and will allow you to exist in peace without yearning, striving, and the end result of suffering. Now, who doesn't want that? A point I'm trying to make is this. The net effect of life in a modern society is to complicate and confuse our existence, thereby making us forget who we truly are. Our natural and eternal essence becomes blurry to us. This is causing us to become obsessed with what we are not, living in an illusion that we have to make some great impact in this world, even if that impact is simply to become wealthy. To achieve our goals, we fight and contend with any would-be opposition to our desired goals, even going so far as to demand that we are right and others are wrong. We cling to our own point of view as if our life depended on it, totally oblivious to the interconnectivity of the souls we are trying to outdo and defeat, oblivious to the love and gratitude we should be demonstrating. The great Buddha and the way of Zen teaches us this is all a foolish attempt to satisfy a mind that is insatiable. Zen Buddhism also instructs us that everything is impermanent, okay? The opposite of permanent, temporal, okay? Just the same way as the four seasons come and go. Your possessions will be inherited by someone else, and eventually your health will dissolve. The invincibility of your youth is also temporal, as is any fame or power you may now possess. Instead of understanding this, okay, and embracing a peaceful coexistence with the world and the people of the world around us, most of us brandish our swords to fend off the challenges of this world, or the people of the world, let's say. The tragedy of this common human condition is a self-inflicted prison. This striving for desires and pushing toward a new dream is enslavement. We don't understand it's a useless pursuit of an end that we will never see. We end up wearing out our hearts and our bodies during the process by ridiculous and tiresome labors in hope we will achieve the unachievable. The Buddha taught we will never be satisfied outside of truly deleting desire. Peace and satisfaction only come through mindful awareness of this irrationality and switching this mindset to contentment with our true essence and its connection to all living beings and all collective energy. Plain and simple. Instead of striving and grunting towards something, just let all things follow their course. Let your life flow with whatever happens, and let your mind be free as it resigns to accepting whatever is happening, even if it's not what was expected. Because when you release your fruitless attempts to control everything, the results are mental stability, and peace. Said in a slightly different way, if you want order in your life and peace of mind, do not be absorbed by activities like careers or hobbies. Do not try to bear the world's burdens like fighting crime or poverty. Do not try to get rich by any means, because it will dissipate. And do not think you know anything, because you don't, no matter how much experience you have. Consider yourself as a wave in the ocean, riding the ebb and flow of the tide. It's all temporal, it's all dynamic, and it's all up to the universe with regards to any and all outcomes you face, no matter how hard you try to control things. Just as the waves are not separate from the ocean and the rays of the sun are not separate from the sun itself, you are not separate from a collective existence with all organic matter, from humans to ocean animals to a bald eagle in pursuit of its next meal. Your energy is entangled with theirs and theirs with yours. We could additionally say you are pure consciousness, even if you are unaware of it or any mindful lifestyle you could achieve. This is your true essence, a being of conscious energy that can tap into the power of Zen, connect to the strength that comes from a peaceful state of being. This is where possessions mean nothing, where success is an afterthought, and where dreaming of a better life is replaced with mindful contentment about the here and now. This is when you will truly discover freedom and peace. Shakespeare said that all the world's a stage. The original English word for stage actor was hypocrite, and that is exactly what you become when you are out there in the world trying to be someone, trying to get something, or wanting a particular outcome. You are unknowingly just spinning your wheels like a foolish hypocrite. And this is not to judge you, because we're all guilty of this to some extent. When the Buddha lived 2,500 years ago in Nepal, he was faced with a small fraction of what we are bombarded with in modern society. Yet, he was profoundly aware that we would eventually face this, that all of this would eventually occur, almost as if he had prophetic abilities. That is why he taught about mental freedom through deletion of desire. Our problem today is that it's much more difficult than in ancient past because of our culture and technological advancements. We are constantly confronted with societal expectations, temptations to accomplish or accumulate possessions, and of course, striving for success and recognition. What we're unable to achieve, we then take those broken dreams and project them out to the universe through prayer to God or a new age attempt to manifest an outcome, such as what is taught in the Law of Attraction book called The Secret. It's because these prayers or projections give folks reassurance that something bigger than themselves is out there in the cosmos looking out for them. The Buddha taught, however, these are all ridiculous efforts of weak-minded people without inner strength. I can remember hundreds of times I prayed in vain to God in heaven, only to wait and wait with no results. When I did get a projection or a prayer answered, it was many months later, and it was almost always due to my own efforts, even though there were many around me that swore it was a gift of heaven. This does not mean I'm an atheist either, nor does it mean I have shunned any form of deity. I've understood through Buddhism, however, through Zen Buddhism, that whatever will be, no matter how much I pray and how dirty my knees get during prayer. Let me repeat that. I've understood through Zen Buddhism that whatever will be, no matter how hard I pray, no matter how much time I spend on my knees. Whatever will be, will be. Que sera, sera, if you will. It will happen according to how karma delivers the outcome. And we don't have to hope and project any wishes to a cosmic being for answers. A key point is sometimes the most powerful transformation occurs when we stop bearing the weight of the world on our shoulders, and especially when we stop trying to send this burden to a God that may or may not answer at all. It's freeing to simply accept the fact that all will eventually unravel to universal karma and wisdom, and within this wisdom you accept that the eventual outcome is exactly how it was supposed to be. This produces profound mental freedom and peace. Again, no matter how much you pray, how much you work, how much you yearn, or how much you strive, the end result will be exactly how the universe wanted it to be, which is in connection and direct correlation to the love and good karma you live by. This knowledge reassures us of who we are and how we are loosely connected to all outcomes in our lives. We are linked to the universal love we display. So it's of the utmost importance to be a mindful being of light and love. When you live by this Zen protocol, you undoubtedly become more magnificent, and a radiant grace starts to surround you. An aura appears around your luminous, lovely being, and at the same time, you become a temple of absolute contentment and eternal bliss. In essence, you become someone that truly figured out how to mindfully act and live on earth in the beautiful way of the Buddha.